The United States was historically promoted on the concept of purity, or the separation of the races. Laws were enacted to keep the races separate and to prohibit marriages between members of different races, especially between people who by virtue of marriage would not maintain the purity of racial ethnic groups. These laws were often specifically worded to make marriages illegal between Caucasians and African Americans. The problems encountered by interracial couples are often the result of negative societal attitudes about interracial relationships.
When I was a sophomore in high school, I decided to tell my mom that I was actually dating an African American instead of keeping it away from her behind her back. And she basically told me that she forbid it, and now that I'm not a minor anymore, she knows that she can't really stop me or anything, but she tells me all the time that she prays that I find a white Christian man. And she discussed it with my dad and stuff, and he basically said that he was only after my money and that he wouldn't do anything to better my life, or that he was only going to hurt me. And so I decided to do some investigating in the Bible and find some scriptures that kind of trumped over all of their stereotypes. And this says, "There is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither slave nor free, there is neither male nor female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus." And it also says, "But the Lord said to Samuel, do not look at his appearance for his physical stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord does not see man as man sees."
Worded to make marriages illegal between Caucasians and African Americans. Between 1942 and 1967, 14 states repealed these laws through legislative action. The problems encountered by interracial couples are often the result of negative societal attitudes about interracial relationships. Black Caucasian unions have the lowest frequency of occurrence because of long-standing negative beliefs about these marriages. Studies have indicated that, in general, Caucasians tend to disapprove of interracial marriages and blacks tend to approve. It seems, though, even in 2018, where genders are fluid and pride for many new things are heavily promoted, that white women and men in the South still receive shame from having a black partner. Deep South's notions of white supremacy and racial purity unfortunately still run deep in the soil.
And let me tell you right up front, you young people, you want to marry a black man, you girls, don't ask me to do it, because I will not. I refuse. I cannot do it with a conscience toward God and look these quotes in the face.
This is Pastor Donnie Reagan, who has been called a racist pastor for his public rebuke against interracial marriage. He runs Happy Valley Church of Jesus Christ in Johnson City, Tennessee. In this sermon, he speaks against whites marrying black people. He said it is a sin against God's order.
Was never an option. Coming from, I guess, the heart of the South, it was kind of understood that it was looked down upon to even date, a black male. My dad told me that he has never had any coal in his wood pile, so there's no need to start now. I think that it's really wrong what the South is doing to young women and men who want to date outside of their race, because, love is love and color isn't anything anymore. People are intermixed all the time, so there's no need. I think that the South has created a social stigma greater than any other place and probably anywhere between interracial relations. I have no issue with interracial relationships. I'm actually in one, and it's funny how you can come from parents whom see that as wrong, but you can be totally accepting. Our generation is so much more accepting and more forward with our thinking, but these people are still around making us feel like we're doing something wrong. I have to be careful with who I tell that I'm dating, in my town, because people will treat me differently. Right now I'm a perfectly fine civilian, but if word gets out that I'm dating somebody outside of my race, there will be repercussions. It's unfortunate how we have fought for equality for them, with them, and we've gotten so far, but to date somebody or to marry somebody outside of our race because we love them shouldn't be looked down upon. There's no reason for that. There's no difference between a white man and a black man other than color.
The most unfortunate thing about this whole scenario is that racism still occurs today. The Ku Klux Klan still rallies and still has protests against black people and white people intermixing. As far as the history goes, there will be no stopping to this unless something is truly done. Protests and rallies are a good way to start, but there needs to be something more.